Hey y'all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. And if you're new around here, hello and welcome. My name is Katie Marie. I'm a lover of eyeshadow palettes. And today, during another installment in my KateMas series, we are going to be diving into palettes, a couple of just random makeup items, but mostly palettes that I think are kind of ugly. This video was done about a month or so ago, and I'll link a couple of creators who inspired me down below, but I thought it was so much fun just kind of talking about packaging designs that you personally just think are kind of like, ugh. I don't really see that as really cute. I don't really see that as fun. I don't even really see that as definitely not practical. There can be many different reasons for calling a palette ugly, but I wanted to sit down and do my own spin on it. I did get a request from a previous video I did asking if I would do the ugly palette tag. It's not really a tag at all, but a couple people were doing it around the same time that I uploaded that video, and someone was like, hey, have you seen the ugly palette video? Would you do your own take on it? And so I put it down to do, and I just didn't get around to it until KateMas, when I'm uploading every day and I have a little bit more wiggle room in my schedule. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have a bunch of palettes that I've picked out. As I said, a couple just random makeup items that I think are really ugly, but most of them are palettes, and most of them I tried to not repeat products, or I tried not repeat palettes. I went through and rewatched all of them today. One or two I know that were mentioned, but they were honestly just so on the top of my head that I have to include them in my list. But most of them, unless I just totally missed it in the video, are more unique, so hopefully I'm not just being super repetitive here. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. Per usual, before I dive into it, I do want to say that I have a giveaway going on. There are 2 different boxes of makeup that you can get. I will leave it linked up here as well as down in the description box. All the details for entering the giveaway are over there if you want to check them out. But yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm going to scoot over because I have to put the pictures here because I don't own any of these ugly palettes. Okay, so before we just go ahead and dive right in, I have a whole folder on Instagram I put for ugly palettes, and I've just been saving them over the past couple days. But before we dive in, I do want to say that these I personally think are ugly. For me and my preferences and what I like in makeup, I think they're ugly. However, if you like the look of them, if you think they're cute, if you think they're unique, if you think they're fun and different, that is totally okay. And also, I'm going to be mentioning some indie makeup brands, and I hope to not offend anyone or any of the brands in mentioning their palettes in this video. For me personally, like I said, this is all preference-wise, and when I initially see it, I'm just kind of like, ooh, I don't like the look of that palette. I don't really jive with it, and so that's why I'm mentioning it. But mentioning it in this video doesn't say that the palette is bad, the quality is bad, anything like that. So I just want to throw that out there because I do feel a little bad when I mention indie brands, because I do realize they are smaller brands who work hard and have a vision for their products. But I mean, everyone has different preferences, and their vision is just different than my preferences, I guess you could say. So yeah, I don't typically like to give disclaimers, but since I am talking about ugly palettes, I don't want it to come off as offensive. This video is mostly just in fun and just kind of sharing my, I guess you could say, packaging pet peeves, because all of these were just kind of like, oh, I don't like them. So disclaimer out of the way, let's get into the first one. Okay, this is from New Culture House, but this is, I assume, the Whatever palette because it has whatever on it. But I try so hard to just look at the colors in here, and I just can't. Like, I can't get past that background. It's so busy that it, like, prohibits me from really seeing the palette, because I look at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I don't like that palette. But when I sit there and I'm like, okay, let me just look at the colors, it's actually a pretty palette. Like, it's got a nice variety of blues in there and whatnot. It's got that poppy yellow. I feel like this palette on a black or just a normal background, I would probably be like, oh, what brand is that? What palette is that? I'm kind of intrigued. I like the color story. But with this palette packaging, I just can't, and I'm sorry, I just can't. It's just so hard for me to look at and visualize and just see the colors when the background is just so flatty. So yeah, this was the very first palette I thought of. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this initially when it was sneaked and when it was launched, and I was just like, man, I can't get down with that palette because the packaging is just so not me, not for me. Okay, next up is from Cutie Pop Glitzy. Okay. When I first saw this, it was the open palette, and I was like, what on earth is that? Because the two shoes, these are ballet shoes if you didn't know, the 2 shoes when the palette is open look like legs. So I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, the legs, there's hips, it was just kind of like, what on earth is this? And then I saw the cover and I was like, oh, okay, it's ballet shoes. And I kind of get it now, but still I can't get by now that I've seen that silhouette. I can't get behind this packaging, because whenever it's open and you don't see the ballet shoe cover, I don't like this packaging personally. I think it's just, I don't like it, basically, is all I'm saying. I get what they were going for, and like, now that I know it's ballet shoes, I'm like, okay, that's cute. But still, I would never buy it, and I just kind of stand by my initial thoughts when I first saw that, of going like, oh my goodness, what kind of packaging is that? not anything I want to add to my collection. Also, with these very uniquely shaped things, they're also a big hassle to store. I think the only super unique type of packaging I have is the burger palette, and at least that's just a circle. It's unique, yes, but it's still doable to store. This, I wouldn't know where to put it besides in a drawer somewhere, and I don't put my palettes in drawers, so yeah. All around, this palette, I'm sorry, it's not that cute, and if you see it without understanding that it's ballet shoes, if you see it open without being able to see the shoes, at least I was just like, what is that? Okay, this is a newer launch. This is from the Crayon Case. This is the big box of 64 color shades is what it's called, eyeshadow palette. This palette is just a lot, and I'm someone who likes color. However, whenever I see this, I'm just like, no. I like color, but I like color in a color story, and I like color in smaller palettes. When they're just so large, I don't know, it's just kind of like, I don't want to get one palette and then be set for life when it comes to color. That's not my vibe. I like to have color intermixed with, like I said, fun color stories, you know, something that'll give you color but also more depth. I like the grunge in color and stuff like that. Anyway, I like color, smaller palettes, and more of color, or like color stories, telling a story with a specific color group. I don't like this just like barf of color into this huge palette, and there's just so many shades, and I feel like as I'm zooming up on them and really looking, there are just so many that's like, are they different? Like just looking at the purples here, there's a lot of purples in here. It's hard to see which ones are matte and which ones are shimmers. There's pressed glitters in here. I don't know. There's just too much going on. It's so very bright. There's just so many colors. I feel like it'd be quite repetitive. I can't get down with it. So yeah, in my opinion, it's just too much. Kind of an ugly palette. No, thank you. Okay, I kind of feel bad putting this brand in here, but this is Myali. I think it's Myali Beauty. They used to be Blush Tribe, and I have 2 palettes from Blush Tribe, and I think that they're really pretty. They have, oh, I have one back here. Oh, I have 3 palettes, I forgot. I think this is beautiful. Like, this was a little indie brand. They did several palettes. The color stories were really fun. This was a collab with Polina. That's Polina on there. Gorgeous. But I think this is beautiful. Like, there's something in this more simplistic but still like just powerful and creative and just artworky look to the palettes that I loved. And all their palettes had faces on it and had just beautiful makeup, and it was just so inspiring. Always went with the theme of the palette. And so this is the Blush Tribe they discontinued, and now they're coming out with Myali. I'm sorry. I know I am butchering that. But anyway, their new brand is now this stuff. And I just feel like, first off, this first palette, Asmini, this palette with the flowers, I don't know, it just feels a little simplistic. It makes it feel less unique, less special, less customized, and more of like a typical, you know, I'm not saying that they are private labeled or anything like that, but it just feels more private labeled and just cheaper, I guess. I don't know. I feel bad saying that, but just something about it, I don't jive with the packaging. Like I said, with these palettes, they were just so special and so pretty and so eye-catching. And then going from that to this, I don't really like it as much. I'm sorry. I just feel like they're a little, like the video says, a little ugly. Yeah, again, it's just more of like, almost like they just put a stock image on their covers or like a sticker or something like that. And to come from that to this, I have a hard time with it, and for me personally, when I look at their palettes, I'm not inspired by the artwork. Also with the Yaya, with having that really bright, reflective packaging to surround the colors, it's really hard for me to see the colors and like be inspired with a color story. So if I can look at the color story and just look at the color story, I'm like, oh yes, that's pretty. But when I see the palette as a whole with the packaging, I'm just like, ugh, like that's not very inspiring. So hence why I mentioned them in this video. Okay, this is a brand called Junkie Cosmetics. This palette, again, with that super unique packaging that would make it difficult to store unless you just wanted to stick it in a drawer. Like, where would you put this? Even on its side, it's going to be a little crooked. And then on its side, it's only going to, like, if you want to line your stuff up or something, I guess if you want to display it, it would make more sense. But even with displaying it, if you see the cover is just black, and it has the little flame at the end and space bound. It's just, the cover is just so kind of lackluster, but the inside's actually pretty. So for me personally, I wish they had swapped that and put the outside of it to be that color that's on the background of the shadows, and then the inside to be the solid black. That way it would allow the colors to pop through. So this palette, while I was just trying to really focus on the color story, and I think the color story is pretty because it has that blue, the purple with the green, that pop of orange. I think they had a good idea with the color story. Packaging is just kind of not me, but even without the packaging, you know, that aside, I just can't get down with the crazy background behind all of the colors, and then the front of the cover just, or the front of the palette just being words in black with a little flame. I don't know. I just don't think it's really that cute. Like I said, if they had swapped it, I think I would have been a little more like, oh, that's cute. I like the idea. It's a little rocket and whatnot. But as it is, it's too chaotic. And I just think it's kind of ugly. Okay, this is from Sugary Cosmetics, and I know Sugary Cosmetics was mentioned a couple times in the previous ugly packaging because they have very unique packaging and they're themed around food, and they definitely go the extra mile when it comes to like theming around food because, you know, Glamlight themes their stuff around food, but they kind of still stay in the relatively normal packaging. Like they have a circle, granted they're huge circles like for the pizza and the burger, and the taco is a half circle, so they're not too crazy out there, whereas Sugary really just goes for it. However, this one, the donut palette, why didn't they fill up the circle? Like, why is it only half a palette of shadows and with a picture of a couple, like, donuts on the side? Like, I don't get that. Like, maybe if it was kind of some kind of, like, artist platter that you kind of, like, have to hold and you have the paints on it, then I could see only it being on half of it because you would want a place to hold it. But as a burger, where there's sprinkles all over the donuts, have you ever seen a donut come with only half sprinkles? I don't know. I just can't get down with it. I mean, I remember when it first launched, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, these colors are nice. You know, they are cute. I love the green, obviously, but it's only half a palette. Like, why would I want to buy this huge palette? I mean, I don't even know if it's huge, but it's a circle palette. Why would I want to buy a circle palette and have to figure out how to store it when only half of it is full of shadows? I don't get the idea behind this palette and putting it only half of it and just sticking donuts in there. It doesn't make sense to me. In my eyes, I'm sorry, Sugary Cosmetics, but this is kind of just an ugly palette. Okay, Bakerie launched this not too long ago, but this is the Neapolitan bar. It's a face palette. And I like the idea of this, and when it's open, I like it. But when it's closed, they put a bar across the middle of it. And it just totally ruins the whole Neapolitan look to it. Like, for some reason, I don't know why they didn't just kind of do 2 bars. That way you could really see all 3 of them when the packaging was closed. But I mean, have I just not eaten Neapolitan ice cream in a while? Is there always a line across? I don't know. I feel like with that bar right there ruins the whole feel of like, ooh, this is like Neapolitan ice cream. How cute. With that there, it's just kind of like, okay, it's a face palette with 2 separate windows. Why is it like that? It just really killed it for me. So this is one, it's kind of short and to the point. I thought the idea behind it is cute, but putting the bar across it just made it look less like a Neapolitan ice cream bar. I wish they would have put the, you know, not have any bar across it and just put the words on the top and just had the whole thing open. And again, I feel like doing it that way, it would have kept the whole theme of like, oh, Neapolitan ice cream bar type of thing. But yeah, as it is, I don't know why they did that, but it really killed the whole vibe for me. Okay, I know this one was mentioned, but I have to mention it because it was one of the first ones I thought of, but the P. Louise Love Tapes, I think is what it's called. Love Tapes. Yeah, Love Tapes palette. Why? Like, not even, okay, so it is a palette with 2 things on either side. I get what she's going for with being a tape, cassette tape or whatever, or a VHS tape, sorry. Well, it's been a while. VHS tape, but like, do you see how much space is around the top? And even around the bottom, but like around the top is even more. Why? And then on either side, it's just so much. It's like someone took a palette, like one of P. Louise palettes or whatever, took a palette, stuck it down, and then took 2 Physicians Formula highlighters and put it on either side in a huge box. It just doesn't make sense. I won't dwell on this too long because, like I said, I do know someone, I forget who, mentioned this in their video, but absolutely, this is just so ugly and so unnecessarily large. Why? Okay, next up I want to talk about Millie Bobby Brown. I forget what the palette is, but she came out with like I think a Sweet 16 collection, I believe is what it was. And she launched this palette that can be broken apart into 3 ways. And initially you're like, oh, that's kind of cute. But then you're like, when you see how it breaks apart and like what is grouped together and how much odd empty space is in there, I'm just like, no thank you. Like, I don't know why they didn't just do 3 pieces, but to be divided evenly. Like, why did you have to go sideways and whatnot? Because since you went sideways, you can't fit all of the typical shadows you would in those like slanted pieces, so there's a lot of wasted space. I think the biggest little, you know, section, the third of it, that is kind of like all the neutrals, that makes sense because it's not too crazy. Again, it's like a straight line, so you can fill it in. There's a little bit of, you know, dead space in there, but not bad. Why they didn't just stick an extra shadow in there, I don't know. But with the other 2 that are slanted weird, the weird space, the empty space is just weird to me. I don't like it. And then also, when you put it all together and you open the palette, there's all this weird empty space in it. I don't get this. And for me personally, I just think it's really ugly. So hence why I had to mention it here. Okay, I know a lot of people like the Sugarpill capsule collection, but I'm sorry, I'm going to mention it here as an ugly palette. I can't get down with it. they have had 3 palettes launch, and each one of them I'm kind of like, I'm into, but the biggest drawback for me is I don't like the packaging. The oval is not particularly for me, especially when half is a mirror, half is see-through. I totally understand what they're going for with the whole capsule medicine. I get that, but for me personally, I just don't like it. I don't know what about it. And I think the biggest drawback for me, not only with the pans being all different sizes, which it's a little annoying, but the thing I think bothers me the most about this palette is all the lines that connect all of the shadows and then the clear space behind it. Like, I just can't even tell you why, but something about that I really don't like. And anytime I see it, anytime I see people using it in a look, I don't like how the bottom is see-through and then there's these little black lines connecting all the dots. So for me personally, totally get that this is in theme with their whole capsule collection and Sugarpill and stuff like that, but it's just not my vibe and I think it's just kind of ugly, so I haven't bought it. Okay, the brand Makeup Scientist Cosmetics. The Sodium Fine, when I first recorded that, I did not realize the play on words there, but their Sodium Fine palette is like cute. It's a little bit bulky, it's a little bit ugly. I didn't get it because I'm not a scientist in that way, so the whole, you know, vial or whatever that thing is called, it being in the shape of that, had no sway with me, didn't sway me, and I just kind of thought it was an ugly shape. So that is a little bit ugly, but the thing that I think is really just not my jive is they came out with, what's it called? The Lab Manual palette. And looking at the color story, it's not bad, but I just do not like that it's in a spiral, what is it? The spiral spine? I don't even know what it's called, but you know how they have the little spirals for the folders? I don't like that at all because for one, these are notoriously growing up. I hated having to open them because they would always, after a while, just not open right. They would get caught up, something would go awry, and then trying to open it was never smooth. So the thought of having a palette that I need to open with that is just kind of like, no thank you. I get what they're going for, having it be like a lab notebook and whatnot, but like I just don't like that. So for me personally, everything about this palette, even though I like the 2 greens in there, it was just a hard no because I just thought the packaging was kind of ugly. I really don't like the spiral spine. What is it called, y'all? I feel so dumb sometimes when I can't think of the most simplistic things, but whatever that thing is called, don't like it. Okay, I wanted to mention Jeffree Star Cosmetics, the Alien palette. I have wanted the Alien palette, like the color store, for so long because I liked those greens and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. However, the Alien, like the palette, is ugly. Like I'm not into Alien, so this whole Alien look is just no thank you. I've heard that the eyeballs are like the squishy and kind of raised and bubbled. No thank you. And then on the inside, there's so much wasted space. Again, there's just so much wasted space around the edges. That just bothers me. I just feel like you could have put a couple more shadows in there. It's like, give me some more shadows if you're going to make it that large. So yeah, everything about this palette, I've always been intrigued by the color story inside, but I've never for one moment thought about getting it because the packaging is just so ugly. Not even when Jeffree Star was more acceptable a couple years ago. I just thought it was ugly. I did not want an alien, huge alien head in my collection, and then trying to figure out how to store that. Okay, I know I'm gonna be like the most unpopular girl in the room, but a lot of my friends are talking about the Winky Lux little blushes. This isn't a palette, it's a blush, I know, but I have to mention it because everyone's talking about how cute it is, and I'm just like, no, where would I store that? I feel like if they had done this blush and just dropped the flower a little bit lower into the compact and then put a flat top, I would have been all about it because I absolutely love roses. I have a couple like from Myali and what's the other brand? Flower Beauty, who have it shaped like pressed like a rose, but this is actually looks like a rose, so I get it. I think it's gorgeous. However, the dome top, where would I store that? I wouldn't be able to put it in any of my drawers, and I don't want to have it just sitting around. Like, where my kids would get it, lose it, it would roll off the desk, and because it's like circular, it would roll and disappear somewhere. So while I like the flower inside, I don't like the packaging one bit. I think it makes it look a little ugly, in my personal opinion. Okay, almost done here. Nikita Dragun Beauty. Ever since she first launched this palette, I thought it's the ugliest thing ever. It is her, what is it even called? The face palette, the one where it looks like there's someone who's no longer alive on it. It's just disturbing. Like, I look at it, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, I want to look away. Like, that's how disturbing it looks. There's just nothing, to me, there's nothing like artistic or beautiful or just like, oh, like it's coming through water. No, it just looks like something's wrong. Like something's terribly wrong. Like someone needs to call 911 and get an ambulance out here. I can't imagine having this in my collection and having Nikita's face that looks like I need to call 911 staring at me when I come and get ready in the morning. No. Okay, last up. Again, I just feel so unpopular, but this is the Kaledios Makeup, their highlighter tins. It's the Mars Melters. Not everyone, a lot of my friends here on YouTube absolutely love it, and the formula might be amazing, but I have never bought it because I can't get down with the packaging. I think the packaging is a little ugly. And honestly, I've thought about doing a video on brands that I like their formula, but I hate the brand aesthetic, like what the brand is all about. I just can't get down with. And Kaledios is always the first one that comes to mind because they have this whole like spacey type of futurism. That's what their brand is all about. I don't mind this kind of futuristic because I think this is really pretty. If you don't know, I'm talking about this Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green. I think this is pretty. It's just so beautiful. However, these little tins, I just don't like them. Like the little tin just makes me think of, you know, when I was a kid and having toys that I would store. It just takes me back to when I was a kid. Makes me think of kid makeup, I guess. And just the little cheapo tins is what I think of. And it just looks a little clunky, and you know, the packaging is bright and pretty, but I'm not exactly down with most of the artwork. And I don't know, every time I go like, oh, do you want to try a highlighter? I'm just always like, I don't want to have it in my collection because I don't think it's that pretty. So this is definitely very much just my personal preference when it comes to it, because I know everyone loves Kaledios highlighters and I always hear great things about them, but anytime I go to purchase it, I'm just kind of like, I don't like it. I just think it's kind of ugly. So I figured I would mention them in this video. I feel like I am probably making a lot of people mad right now because I feel like I'm just so unpopular in that opinion and with the Winky Lux and whatnot, but for me personally, I'm just not into it. So it earned its place in this video because I've always just thought it's kind of like not my speed, kind of ugly. Alright, so those are all the palettes that I honestly think are just kind of ugly, and I just don't think they're all that cute or pretty, or I just don't get it. Like, some stuff I do get it for other people, but like for me personally, it just doesn't jive with me, and so therefore I think it's kind of ugly. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and as I said in the beginning, please don't take offense. I feel so bad even like as I'm doing this video, like I don't want to knock these brands because the brands had a vision, they had a purpose, but just for me personally, it doesn't mean, and that's okay. We're all different. We all have different preferences, and these are definitely just not my preferences. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you guys would like to see brands that I think have gorgeous packaging. That could be fun since I'm talking about the ugly packaging. There are definitely some brands who just always hit it out of the park at just giving you like jaw-dropping gorgeous palettes. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up on your way out, as it helps me in the whole YouTube algorithm. And if you want to continue getting daily content from me, I'm over on Instagram. I'm LadyKatie92. And yeah, don't forget to check out the giveaway if you want to enter it to win. It's going all month long in December, ends at the end of the month, and you can enter to win one of 2 different boxes full of makeup. But yeah, with all that said, I will see you guys very soon in my next video tomorrow.